Hey folks, Paul Essery here, and I'm delighted this morning to have Dan Tennakoon from RE24 in the Zoom room with me. Dan, thanks for giving us a bit of time to talk about what you're doing. It's a really interesting project that you're working on, and I'm grateful that you're taking some time to come and share it with us because I think people will be interested to hear about it. I mean, the whole energy thing really sort of timely discussion at the moment. I mean, it's a big issue, isn't it? The whole thing about energy. So, for the folks that are listening, I mean, just give us a sense of who you are and tell us about Re24, and then we'll sort of talk about the kind of clever stuff that you're using technology for in a minute.
Fantastic. Yes, Paul, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me here. And when you say like our project, it just reflected in my head. I'm just thinking, this is a project of lifetime, really. It's
Okay.
yeah. So bit about myself. So I'm the founder and CEO of RE24, and we are an award-winning startup. We get 24/7 around the clock renewable energy for large energy users.
And I mean, when you say large energy users, I mean, give us a sense of what you mean by that. I mean, do you mean just huge companies, or do you mean SMEs, or do you mean particular types of companies? Give us a sense of who's buying this, because it's probably got quite wide applications in the longer term, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, as a young company, we are very resource constrained, so we need to be very efficient on how we allocate our resources. So we allocating our resources on the large energy consumers, but so by definition, they spend from their overall operations, majority of their spend is on energy. So this in the typical world back in the days, they were called energy intensive industries like so the glass manufacturing, etc., like very high energy consuming. Whereas now we are 100% focused on the data center market because essentially they use energy for their processing power and it is a prime cost followed by their staff cost.
Yeah. And data centers, of course, are growing like topsy, aren't they? As people want to use more AI and all the rest of it. So it's a growing market, I would assume.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you've told us a bit about what RE24 does. I mean, give us a sense of the problem that you're trying to fix. I mean, because you've covered it in quite an interesting way. So give us a sense of the problem that those businesses have and what you're doing for them, and tell us about how your technology helps do that. Because you do it in a different way, which I think is the interesting thing. So just tell us about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And uh, yeah, so then we need to take like one step back. I come from 20 years in the energy sector experience
Right.
and
Right.
have worked with large energy corporates likes of Centrica, British Gas parent company. For Centrica was 7 years before RE24. And before that, NG, the French energy company. So
Yeah.
again, energy
Yeah.
company. And being inside the energy sector for all these years, what you have seen is that energy price like naturally goes up with inflation and so on. But over the last 3 years, it's been there's been a significant price increase in energy prices. So
Yeah.
that's all the political situation going around the world. That all we know. So in a nutshell, energy price if you're a business, you pay 3 times more on your electricity consumption than you paid in 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a huge increase. So 3x increase in your energy price. And also there's increasingly there's more scrutiny over sustainability. And then with that you're doing the right thing. And there's a lot of pressure on the greenwashing as well. So,
Yeah.
so from one hand, people want to reduce their cost because it's a huge cost, 3 times increase.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
second thing is that they want to do the right thing. And also it's a lot of organizations, almost all the big organizations are sustainability driven. So that's the second. But then the third is that they are looking for a local solutions for their global problem. So these are large organizations which operate in multiple jurisdictions, and they want local energy solutions, so local renewable solutions for their wide organization. So when you look at those ones, and and we want to bring a solution for that one. So the solution for that one is that we we are we are getting around the clock, so 24/7 renewable energy for the last energy users. So how we do that is that we are an enterprise solution for large energy users to procure, manage, and analyze their renewable energy. So when you say procure through the enterprise solution, based on their locality, we give them options where they can procure their renewable energy directly from the generators, like some of the wind farm and then the solar farm,
Yeah.
and then so on. And then they can manage that contract through the solution as well, because they are high cost transactions, and then they need to be managed, and then give them all the analytics and reporting, and then the data, and then the compliance information to maintain their financial targets and to maintain their sustainability targets. So that's what we are. So
Yeah.
we
And
are ready.
let me ask you about that, because I think most people, and probably most of the people listening to this, think, you sign up with an energy supplier and then you just plug your stuff in. I mean, it's a totally different scenario in a big company, isn't it? If you take a glass manufacturer as an example, I mean, there's a whole set of issues about the choice of energy supplier, how
Yeah,
you manage that. To manage that effectively, you need to have good data, and you need somebody you need people that will do it. So, I mean, what you're saying is not just that you supply renewable energy, but you help those companies manage that more effectively. I mean, just tell us how your tech does that, because that's
yeah.
quite. I don't think most people realize that. Most domestic users probably won't realize that it's completely different for big energy intensive companies.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just to give a yeah, like just to bring it to the surface. So today we reached a milestone for one of our customers.
Right.
Um, so we over last 10 months, getting like by getting renewable energy over the last 10 months, they actually reached 1 million cash benefit yesterday, purely by getting the renewable energy. That's 1 million euros. It's a significant sum. So if you look at,
So that's a saving. So by using you, they've saved a
they
million,
said
a
yes, but
million euros.
yes, but then essentially what they've done was, because energy market price goes at a higher rate, and they secured the renewable energy at a lower price
Yeah.
compared to the market price. So they got 1 million benefit, cash benefit from that renewable energy. So that's on top of like the sustainability benefit, etc. So then what the tech does is that we take the technology for the large energy users, and then they can use their individual sites, locations, their energy consumption. I mean, we haven't deployed to the domestic market yet, but if you think of your home, you can see what your electricity consumption is, real-time electricity consumption, and then we see who are the renewable projects that would be the best fit for you, based on the length of the contract that you're looking for, based on the technology preference, and then based on the price point. So then we run an algorithm in the background to get the best match solution for you, and then we show you, if you look for this combination of projects, you can get your renewable energy based on an hourly base, and it costs you this much.
Okay.
And because it doesn't track against the wholesale, like track against the electricity market price, because electricity is a traded commodity, but it's directly driven by the renewable generators price. So that comes significantly lower than the wholesale market.
So let me just to clarify that. So I've understood this correctly. What you're saying is it's better for the environment and it's probably cheaper too.
Absolutely, we have
I mean, it sounds
demonstrated.
like a pretty winning proposition. But let me ask you something about that, because the economist in me would say, well, your interest as an energy company is to sell more electricity at a higher price, because that's how you become more profitable and more valuable as a company. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you balance that, your incentives as a company and your responsibility as a company director to maximize the interests of your business with that thing about we need to reduce energy use, we need to shift to renewable sources, etc., etc., and you want to charge people less. I mean, there's an interesting balancing act there. I mean, just talk us through how that works, because again, I don't think most people understand that.
Yeah, yes, I know. So obviously we are a profit generating business, but we are impact driven profit generation. I mean, we are a certified B Corp as well. Yes, and true, we need to grow as well. But what we see is that we see that there needs to be value created from both from a renewable generation point of view, from the renewable generators, like for the wind farms and solar farms, and the value needs to be driven for the end energy users, like the large energy producers. So then we we get the the long-term revenue opportunities for the renewable generators, and then we get the renewable energy for the large energy users at a discounted rate. And then our value in there is that we don't want to get really cheap and then sell very high, but actually what we are doing is that we take a transaction fee from the amounts being transferred into the end energy user. So then both parties maintain their value, but also we take our commercial interest through that transaction fee.
Yeah. So that's quite a clever way of balancing the issues, isn't it, really? So,
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, it's a complicated bit of kit that it's a complicated market you're in. I mean, it's quite a challenging market, I would guess, at this precise moment. I mean, give us a sense of the journey that you've been on. I mean, where did you start and how did you end up here? And tell us about the sort of, the big challenges that you've had to overcome and perhaps how you've done that.
yeah. Yes, that's actually really good question. We have been going for the last 2.5 years, and then if I'm to summarize our journey, there are three key points, perhaps I would say, the kind of the beginning, and a bit of emphasis on the word brutal, uh, and cash flow. So those are the like three key components as such. And if you look at the beginning as such, and as I was saying, I come from the energy sector, from that experience. And then even in my Centrica days, I always led the corporate ventures within the big organization. So I led the renewable energy portfolio within Centrica, got the investment for that, and then built that business uh, with the wider team. And in Centrica, in days I'm talking about 4 years ago, we have seen the big tech companies are going slowly want to go towards that around the clock renewable energy. So initially started with Google, and Google is saying, we want to make sure all our data centers use renewable energy at real time.
Yeah.
So then I saw that's where the market was going. And I wanted to do that with Centrica and then say, guys, we should get our product suite and our technology stack, to cater that around the clock renewable energy market, because that's where the market is heading. And that's the future. And then the kind of the larger corporates view is that, yes, actually, it's going to be more like a 2030 picture, but then like we can wait for that. We don't need to do it right now. But they said, but actually, if you want to do it, you can do it, and then who knows, like by 2030 we might be happily acquire you. And I thought, actually, yes. So it's a perfect opportunity for somebody new to
Yeah.
go into the market and build it. So that's our like, kind of beginning story. And then this secondly, more on the word, the the brutal. So we are an award-winning startup. We didn't raise external money, but actually we got over 700K cash secured over the last 2.5 years. We are B Corp 9,000 and 40,000. So we have customers in the UK and Ireland. So we have a lot of success stories. But there's one word. If somebody asks me like, Dan, how is your experience? I would say like, it can be summarized in one word: brutal. So it's absolutely brutal. So I think there's a lot of like glorification of startup journey, venture journey. But it's hard. It's
It's tough.
extreme.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
So brutally severed. But then at the same time, would I do something else now? Would I go back to my corporate job? Absolutely no. I wouldn't go back to my corporate job because I love what I'm doing. But is it hard? Absolutely no. It's extremely difficult. So the only word is brutal. So that's it. So that's from that angle. And then the cash flow wise, like when you do a job, maybe we all realize like how important cash is. But when you are getting paid well, it's actually you don't worry about it much. But running a business, there's nothing important than cash. It's it, you that's all your survival, and then how you get cash is that until someone sells something, nothing happens. So we need to bring cash in. We need to sell products because without cash, we can't do we
Yeah.
can't do anything. So those are my that's my like from the journey, and then the key challenges that we have
And I
faced.
think a lot of entrepreneurs would identify with that. I mean, I think that, what you've
Yeah,
said, I mean, they wouldn't necessarily use the word brutal, but they certainly understand what it's like. I mean, it's a tough gig building
yeah,
a
it is.
building a
Yes,
small business, particularly if you're trying to globalize it as well. Let me ask you about that journey. So you've identified three really difficult things, and I'm sure there are others as well, but you've identified three particularly difficult things. I mean, give us a sense of what you've learned from that experience. I mean, has that perhaps made you a better business person, the result of those experiences? I mean, has it changed the way you think about the product or the market? I mean, give us a sense of, what have you learned from that? I mean, it's clear that there's challenges. What have you learned from them, and how's that shaped your perspective?
that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, we have obviously through the journey we have learned loads of things. But then like one of the maybe like some of the key things that we learned is that in the in the entrepreneurship in the venture journey, we actually work a lot. I mean, we do like loads of hours, almost every day, all day, every day. And then again, as you like you've heard from the other founders, they will tell the same story. But my reflection is that we definitely got to love what we are doing
Yeah.
because if I don't like it, then it's harder for us to do that thing. So my own reflection is that being on the energy sector, I actually yeah. So like I I love what I've done, and then right now as well. And then when I say like we go to like what we're doing, is that like we always talk about the word like stress, etc., etc. And then even though I said brutal earlier, have I felt stressed in my 2.5 journey? Absolutely no. I never like I don't feel like I felt stressed. But I felt is that I felt there yes, there are certain things that I don't know, and I need to quickly learn, and I need to sometimes I have to make things up. I mean, most of the time we don't know what we're doing, so most times we actually like pave the road as we go. Um, but it's all there because we like what we're doing, and I never felt stressed in that journey. So maybe my reflections that maybe it's because I like what I'm doing, or like I like what I've done, and
I
also
mean,
like
I think again, and I think other entrepreneurs would identify with that. You've got to enjoy what you do. You've got to be passionate about what you're doing. You've also got to like solving problems because, I mean, I don't know what your experience has been, but you go from one problem to another, don't you? Really,
absolutely.
so you've got to like doing it and you've got to like solving problems, or you're not going to make much progress.
Yes, yes, exactly. And then yeah, and then the other thing is that it's actually somebody told me back in the days as well. So told me you got to make money from the things that you know.
Yeah,
And then like when you look at me, I'm 45 years old, so with all the 20 years experience in the sector, and there are quite a lot of things that we have like gathered over the years, all that tacit knowledge, and it's increasingly evident, it's like obvious. You can actually really like sell what you know and then like build into products, and then that's how we make money. It sounds very obvious, but when you do it, it's actually come to a real realization.
yeah.
So that's yeah. So that's from like one angle. But if I have to cover couple of two things, is that what I haven't heard much before that in the journey, like from others, is that how important the like setting the foundation for us, like like I'm talking about like life foundations. And because entrepreneurship journey, it will throw you like upside down, and it'll like any business, I mean like any small business person, they'll be like a proper roller coaster, really good moments, really bad moments, actually loads of bad moments, and it's going to push you into like all different extremes. And if you really don't have foundations well, and it can go really bad. Like for example, right? I mean, like I have 3 kids at home, and then if like I always like when I work from home, I can have a quick chat with him, see what they're doing with homework, doing what they're with hobbies or sports, and it's kind of like refresh me, and then all that things balance off, and then same with the family, same with the house, and then so on, etc. But just imagine if you don't have that, like the house and then the family and that foundation well set up, and the venture journey itself is challenging. If you have those foundation problems on top of that, then it's really tough. So that's my like other key learning. So maybe my last one is that again we hear lots of stories saying that people made millions from doing startups on the ventures and then so on, etc. But my realization, if you want money, if you want to make easy money, do a job.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't realized that obvious like until I start doing the startup. By doing a job, earning money is like million times easier. It's
Yeah.
unbelievably easy.
Yeah.
Whereas in the venture world, in the startup world, it's actually very hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's your point. Your point. I mean, you're absolutely right about that. It's totally different building a business to being an employee, and your other point I think is really interesting. This idea about balancing the kind of instability of the business with the stability at home. I mean that balance really important. And I've seen people be derailed because they haven't had that stability or been able to
Absolutely.
manage that properly, and it's caused all sorts of problems. So I totally get that. I mean, you've touched on quite a lot of things there. I mean, about the journey and where you've been. And tell us about where you're going. I mean, over the next few years, I mean, what is it? I don't know, medium to long term, whatever. I mean, what is it you want to achieve? What sort of impact you want to have? I mean, give us a sense of the direction of travel here.
Yeah. I mean, what we are going to do as a business, we want to do certain things, and also personally, like I'm like
Mm.
as a person, I want to do few things as well. So as a business, like if I look at a couple of things that I want to do as a business, and then maybe last thing that I want to do as a person. As a business, what I want to do is that right now we cater large energy users, ID data centers as a sector. We can cater that one, but actually we don't want to like only support the large end users. We want to support like small businesses, high street fish and chip shops, and then the hairdressers and so on. And also we want to come to the domestic market as well. But when for us to do all of these things, it's the the credit and then the financial stability that we have plays a huge role. So one of the things that we want to do is that, yes, we want to go into those markets, but before we go into market, we need to build our credit. As if you're like a normal person, you need to build credit to get a mortgage, even to get a phone contract, right? You
Yeah,
can't get a phone contract without having the credit. So likewise, in the business as well, we got to build that credit position, to cater this like large quantity market like this SMEs and then the domestic. So that's definitely something that I want to
mm,
do as a business. The other thing that I want to do as a business is that like maybe like I'll bring a recent example. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke to one of our like potential partner organizations in New Zealand, in South Island, New Zealand. So there's a how do you say it? Like civil society and then like number of cluster organization in a
mm.
town called Queenstown in South
I know
Island.
it. Yeah,
All right, okay.
yeah, I know it.
Right, very interesting. Yeah. So the Queenstown, the problem, the challenge that they face from energy world is that they are very um, like depending on the tourist income, and there are lots of tourists come during summer, and they have the like more and more tourists comes, but then year by year, but actually their connection to the grid all relies on long cables
Yeah,
come from nearby town, and it's constrained. So the solution for that is they need to have more renewable projects within Queenstown itself, and they need to encourage that one. So that's a perfect example. We can actually deploy our technology where we can create that demand for renewable energy from the other energy users, and then create a long-term revenue revenue stream for the renewable project. So essentially, encourage more renewable projects to come into the ground, and also encourage the people to use more renewable energy as well. So it's like tackles both sides, and then eventually what it does is that stabilizes the system, but also that takes them away from that problem that they have with the construction of the grid. They are being a separate town connected to the main, like, yeah, from the distance transmission network, and then so on. So that's another thing that I want to do. Like, so obviously I want to take it to new geographies, but I want to adapt our technology to meet the actual situation in those geographies, to meet their need.
And I mean, having been to Queenstown, I mean, I mean, I can absolutely see why what you'll be offering will really benefit them and the tourists that go there, because
Yeah,
it's a big part of their economy. And, that's a
yeah,
really important thing. And most people wouldn't understand how important those things are. So,
yeah. It's
I mean, a very
yeah,
interesting set of things to be working on, I think.
yeah, and then see, these things proves it's such a small world. Like, who knew that you have been to Queensland,
Yeah.
and you knew about
Well, there's a
Queensland,
lot of mountains
Queenstown.
in New Zealand, which is why I've been there.
Oh, but okay, yes, yes,
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and it shows how exciting the prospects are for companies like yours that are doing really interesting things, really
yeah,
different
yeah,
things. I mean, people wouldn't
absolutely,
think about that.
yeah. And then the last thing that I want to do is that I want to bring that entrepreneurship skill to the younger generation. I mean, like, starting with my own kids, because I don't want to. I mean, I have three kids, and I don't want to go the journey that they do GCSE, A levels, and then university, and then even before you finish university, you're actually thinking like, what's the job that you're going to have. Then you're going to that career path. I mean, I grew in that journey because nobody in my family were entrepreneurs. And then when I was small, they were all like, obviously I love STEM, and then STEM, yeah. So that's the area. So but then almost like influence around inside, yes, like being an engineer, and then doing engineering thing is good, and then it's cool, and I like it as well, and ended up doing engineering jobs. But
Mhm.
then I want to create them like, yes, we can actually expand your learning opportunities and then create opportunity for others, make it bigger by going to the entrepreneurship journey. I didn't have that exposure, and I want to create that exposure for my kids, and then for the younger generation as well. And even my own team people, right? So by going to the journey, we all develop that, like, that tacit knowledge within that organization. So even after RE24, that they could go on their own journeys, and then create ventures on their own, and then eventually it's all about job creation for others. It's all about value for them, then that knowledge for them, and then creating value for others. So that's what I'm personally inspired from my kids to others, taking that knowledge.
Sure. Dan, thank you for sharing that story. And I mean, good luck with those goals. I get, I think you're going to be occupied for a while because you've bitten off decent sized problems to work on there. But good luck going forward because I think what you're doing is really valuable and, will have a powerful effect. So, it's really good stuff. So Dan, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing that story. I mean, perhaps come back in a year or two and let us know how you've got on.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Paul. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been fun. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dan. See you soon.
See
Bye
you
bye.
soon. Bye.